It's a perfect situation.
Hello, this is Liz. Welcome to my little urban homestead. Food preservation, dehydrating. Once you've done your produce and it's come down to room temperature and you've checked it over and it is dehydrated correctly, then it's time to store it. As I told you last week, things such as onions, when you powder them, they clump together. So I do them on demand, a few months, enough to last me a couple of months at a time, or even a few weeks, depends on what I'm cooking. But other things such as kale or spinach, I prefer it powdered, so I powder it all up and it lasts me a couple of months anyway. So that's what I do with them. When you are powdering, so what will happen, these onions, I will get my, I'll show you what I've got. This is an attachment that fits onto my food processor, and it's got a blade in and it will powder them up. So I will fill this container with the onions, put it on my processor and powder it up. Knock it down to the bottom and get parchment paper, baking sheet or something, and tip it on. So your onion powder will go on to that baking sheet, not baking sheet, baking paper. Put one tray of your dehydrator, put that baking paper on that one tray and smooth it out so it's fairly even layer, and dehydrate it some more for about another couple of hours or so, because in the process of powdering it up in this, the blade will start to get warm, and that can help towards you having moisture there, which will make the powder clump and will also add moisture to the food, and it could spoil it. So dehydrate your powders after you have powdered them. As I said last week, store in smaller containers so there's less air space. I've got this out here. It was more or less full, but I've used half of it this week. Now I know I'm going to be using this and powdering it up, so I aren't transferring it to another container until I powder it up. Now, as you can see inside, I have a couple of small oxygen absorbers. This is how they come. They're normally vacuum sealed. I mean, this bag was bigger. And I get my jars that I want to put them in, laid out, cut this bag open, take out what I need in my jars, seal it back up, vacuum seal it back up again so it keeps what's left fresh to use. And then I seal my jars. This is my vacuum sealer. It's an old one. The make on it is One Chef. but I got these attachments from America, but only one tube, so we could only put it on one, and we had to budget, but it works. Do what you need to do to get it to work. This is my vacuum sealer. As I told you earlier, it's an old one, but it works. We've had to budge these attachments, but they do work. Now, if you can, you've got the metal lids. Now, I use them for my pressure canning or water bath canning. Then when I open the jar up to use the food inside, I save these lids, and these are what I use to seal my jars. Sometimes these metal lids get a bit bent out of shape and I can't use them, so then I throw them. But you've got your produce in there. You put in oxygen absorber. Put your lid on. This attachment, you just press on top of it. You do not need a ring to get this attachment to work. Now, this is what I have to do, but press it into the vent and press for vacuum seal. Now that should have sealed. So we'll take this off. And as you can see, I can lift it up by the lid itself. It is sealed. It's sealed my food in there. Now you need to keep, when you're storing on your shelves in your extended pantry, you need to check now and again, once a week, just go over all your dehydrated stuff and check that that seal is still working. Because the last thing you want it to do is to pop off and moisture get in and destroy your long-term storage. And as I say, my long-term storage is 6 months. As I told you, the oxygen absorbers, I just seal them in the vacuum sealer to keep them good for next time. You can use these Ziploc type bags, but they don't do a complete vacuum seal. So you can't do any long-term storage with these, even if you put an oxygen absorber in there. This is just a normal but thick grade bag that you can seal, but it does not do a vacuum seal. So again, you can't do a long-term storage, more than a few weeks really. I have no vacuum bags to show you apart from the one that the oxygen absorbers are in, because I don't use them. I don't want to go to the expense. So I went to the expense of buying these and budging it, and they work for me. So it costs me nothing. I've already used that lid for me canning. So now I'm using it again for me dehydrated produce. The jars I use for canning as well, but I've got that many jars at the moment that I'm alright putting them in my jars. But that is the most inexpensive way to save your food, save your dehydrated produce. So that's storing your dehydrated produce and making powders, or rather that's how I do it. Thank you. Bye.
It's a perfect